Whatever I was doing, I'd always hear the voices and they would say really bad things about me. It would be like someone was sitting beside me. I would walk along the street and I'd hear someone, and I would turn around and no one would be there. I would hear people laughing at me. I would turn around, no one would be there. I would be just terrified, out of my mind, terrified. It was torture.
I was in Vietnam, I was on patrol, and there were a couple of North Vietnamese soldiers who tried to surrender. They ended up getting shot. I was a medical corpsman. I tried to save their lives. I said to the captain, "Sir, we can save these guys." And he said, "You don't seem to understand, Doc. I don't give a." It was like somebody just took an axe and just split through my head. I just completely had this break. I started crying. I felt like fish hook ripping at my flesh. I started hearing voices calling my name, Mo, Mo, terrifying.
Haunting stories from people tormented with schizophrenia, a disease of the mind that affects 1 in 100. Schizophrenia is perhaps the most debilitating of all mental illnesses and the most misunderstood. Although the symptoms may differ for every person with schizophrenia, those suffering with the disease often see and hear things that don't exist, become lost in delusions, or experience severe paranoia.
I heard voices that would put me down all the time. I thought that it was the head of the mafia saying this to me. And I thought, the mob was after me. I thought people were after me trying to kill me. I thought they were controlling my life, everything I did, every grade I got at school.
Bonnie Toomey first heard the voices in high school. She kept silent while they kept talking for more than a year. Then, one night at the family dinner table, she broke down.
I thought I was possessed by the devil.
You thought you were possessed by the devil?
Yeah, I thought the devil was in me. I thought I was possessed by the devil, and I started freaking out. I just started saying, "Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ."
Mo Armstrong's battle began in Vietnam. A state football champ from Illinois, he was a teen soldier fighting for his country when he snapped. Schizophrenia sent him down a path traveled by many others with the disease: institutionalization, alcoholism, homelessness, attempted suicide.
It just gets to the point where if I don't start to reach out to people, I might not make it, I might actually take my own life. This lineage of weird thoughts, like I'm a war criminal, I don't deserve to live, why are people letting me live, I should just be dead, and not only should I be dead, I should kill myself, and I just go off the deep end, with this thinking. It's incredibly torturous. I'm hearing this whispering, and at the same time I feel like my back's being pulled apart by some kind of phantom hooks. All of a sudden I wonder if the whispering has a solution for the pain that I'm being torn apart by. So I start listening to this, like, "Mo, jump out in front of a car," or "Mo, leap off a building."
The internal demons can seem so real for many people with schizophrenia that often suicide seems like the only escape. 40% of those with schizophrenia attempt suicide. 10% succeed. The popular perception is that people with schizophrenia somehow bring on their own condition or that their parents are to blame. The fact is, schizophrenia is a biological and genetic illness, an organic disease of the brain. Bad upbringing or personal weakness no more cause schizophrenia than they do diabetes or cancer. While science has not pinpointed the exact cause of the disease, there is evidence schizophrenia is the result of problems with the complex balance of brain chemistry and structure. For some, chemical changes in the brain causes their mind to play tricks on them. Dr. Kenneth Minkoff is a psychiatrist and the medical director of Choate Health System.
This is a disease that happens to normal people in normal families. It's not caused by bad parenting. It's not caused by some deficit in the person's character. These are good, normal, healthy people who develop a brain disease just like somebody might develop a brain tumor. And the suffering that people experience is no less profound.
And I know what you're trying to do.
I'm not trying to do anything.
In the movies, schizophrenia is shorthand for a raving homicidal maniac.
People, first off, always think that schizophrenia is like the movies, this screaming banshee type person that's just going to be running through the house, kind of, and should probably be in a straitjacket, but is still going to be a screaming banshee. And there's nothing that can be done, and there's nothing that we can't do. The stigma is just horrible. I mean, it's having schizophrenia is being at the bottom of the social rung almost. I mean, I can't think of any other disability, any other characteristic in humanity that would put a person at a lower level than having schizophrenia.
When people with serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia are in treatment, they are no more likely to be violent than the average person. They're not only not violent, they're more vulnerable. They're less able to protect themselves from people on the street who may be dangerous, who may be criminals, who may be able to prey upon them, and they're not able to protect themselves that effectively. And because of their illness, they may be naturally stigmatized. They may be a target within society for the aggressive acts of others.
Growing up, Bonnie Toomey was the little girl who made others laugh. All that changed when schizophrenia struck. With the help of medication and a lot of family support, she coped with her illness, finished high school, and found occasional work. But the terrifying voices in her head continued. Not only did she have to live with schizophrenia, but with the stigma of mental illness as well.
And it was so hurtful and so traumatic to lose everything I ever had, every feeling I ever had, every memory I ever had, and to have to build a life on top of that without those other years, and have the stigma, just, you know, having people say just awful things. I lost all my friends, you know, and people like, you know, staying away from me.
Schizophrenia can be devastating, not only for those afflicted, but for their family members as well. Learning to cope with the disease is often the greatest challenge a family will ever face. The stigma surrounding schizophrenia is often so great that families try and go it alone, hiding the illness from others at a time when they need help the most. When Peggy and Jack Toomey were told their daughter had schizophrenia, they were devastated. In the beginning, they blamed themselves.
It was crushing, sad, and where did I go wrong? Did we not discipline her enough? Did we discipline her too much? Did we not give her enough love? Did we smother her with love? Where did we go wrong? It hurt. There was a constant heaviness in your heart. It hurt all the time. And I often prayed, oh God, make it be me. I would gladly have this disease if I could take it away from Bonnie.
The Toomeys struggled with their daughter's illness for years. At times, the guilt, denial, and anguish nearly tore their family apart, but they never gave up hope.
We were being tortured, a living hell. The worst thing you could do to a parent would be to hurt their children, or do something to their children, and that's exactly what we were going through. And we didn't know why. We didn't know why she was sick. And it hurt so much. You hurt for her. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
A diagnosis of schizophrenia has usually meant a sentence of isolation from everyday society, a dead-end life in a back ward, or homelessness on the streets. Although it is still widely feared and misunderstood, schizophrenia is treatable. With proper diagnosis and treatment, many with the illness are making major strides toward returning to productive lives. Today, there is more hope than ever before. A new generation of drugs are helping thousands emerge from the torment of schizophrenia and get on with their lives. True, not all with the illness benefit from the new drug therapies, but for those who do, they are beginning the remarkable process of rehabilitation and recovery. People like Bonnie Toomey.
You have a second chance on life, a second lease on life. It's amazing. It's such a miracle because when you go through everything like especially schizophrenia, it's a pure hell, you know. And a peace of mind is I mean, you can't put a price tag on it.
After struggling for years with the disease, most of Bonnie's symptoms are now in check. She graduated from college recently and works as a counselor at a residential center for others with mental illness.
She's very, very determined to beat this and to function and to be productive and to do things with people. That's what she really wants to do, and she wants to do it so badly. She'll do anything to do that. Yeah. And if it means dealing with all of these symptoms and taking this dangerous medication and dealing with people
all the side effects.
Yep, she'll do it. You know, and she does it. So it just makes us very proud.
We need to tell people that there's a lot of hope. There is a lot of hope. And don't let them get into the mold of learned helplessness. That is the worst thing you can do. You've got to give them dignity and self-respect. You have to recognize that they're an individual living with an illness. They're not an illness.
Currently, there is no cure for schizophrenia. Once affected, a person will generally have to be treated to control the symptoms of the illness for their entire life. But recovery is becoming a reality for more and more people. It is often a slow and emotionally difficult process for those who are afflicted and for their families.
There's a lot of denial in mental illness.
This is Journey of Hope, a support group for families of those suffering from mental illness. The class is sponsored by the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, the nation's largest mental health advocacy group. Recovery often begins by acknowledging the illness and reaching out for help.
I think one of the first things parents do is to try to figure, where did we go wrong? If you seek some support groups, you do learn more about it, and you do learn we do not cause them to become schizophrenic. I have occasionally run into people who lived years in the same neighborhood and never shared the fact there was somebody mentally ill in their family for all those years. It must have been a complete horror for them not to be able to talk about it anywhere and to be living with all kinds of guilt and confusion and shame that it must be their fault. But that doesn't have to happen.
While there is hope for the many who suffer from schizophrenia, the fact remains 1 out of 5 with the illness respond poorly to current treatments. Hundreds of thousands with schizophrenia are homeless on this nation's streets. Effective support programs are few and far between, and public fear and misunderstanding abound. Mo Armstrong is one of the survivors. He's returned from the depths of schizophrenia, institutionalization, and homelessness to earn 2 master's degrees. Now working full-time as an advocate for the mentally ill, he longs for the day when people living with schizophrenia are seen for what they really are, people.
There's nothing wrong, we're just different. You know, just like you wouldn't beat somebody up if they were in a wheelchair today. They were different. I remember when people with wheelchairs were selling pencils on the streets, okay? It wasn't that long ago, 40, 50 years ago. I'm 52. It's the same with us. There's nothing necessarily wrong with us. We're different. So we have to be able to enjoy our life with what we have.
It's that people use expressions like crazy, nuts, weirdo, fruitcake. These are not complimentary terms. And in our society, we've learned not to call somebody four eyes or blindy or deafy or a lot of other things, but we still manage to use terms that have to do with being crazy rather liberally. And that's hard, especially for children.
I am an individual living with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is the disease, the delusions, the hallucinations. The person is compassionate, sensitive, angry, needs love, needs to give love, does projects around the house, does go to school, does go to work, has family and relationships. To give me a chance. Don't prejudge me. Even though I have an illness, I'm still a good person.